Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to do this my holy grail of investing because last time when I had done there was a problem with the video. So what is this holy grail of investing? First of all, trying to talk to new young investors is now getting very difficult. People come with a pretty bruised life. I mean, many people whom I have met have lost a lot of money. They've lost money in options, they've lost money in trading, they have a portfolio which is just a collection of some IPOs, some PSU stock which picked up for dividend, and something which they saw on Twitter and picked up. So it's a what I would call a Dhobi list of equity rather than a thought out portfolio. Again, they would have 2 shares of Procter and Gamble. They would have a portfolio of 25 lakhs. So 2 shares, 3 shares make no sense, but it will be a long list. There will also be occasional good shares, some Reliance which they didn't sell, or some other Asian Paints which they didn't sell. Something like that would be lying there, but largely a bad assortment of shares rather than a sensible portfolio, right? So how do I invest? First of all, I don't have a holy grail of investing. My holy grail of investing is I do not have a holy grail of investing, because I do various things. Some days I'm a deep value investor, some days I'm a day trader, some days I've bought with a long term investing, but something happens in the company because of which I sell it off in a week. So so I don't have a holy grail, and I don't compartmentalize. That was one of the biggest mistakes which I made, saying I am into this, I'm only a value investor, I will not buy a momentum stock. I stopped doing that because that was hurting me. And also remember what was good for Buffett in the 1970s in the US, which was a dominating country with dominating market share and absolute dadagiri within institutions like United Nations doing their job, or the World Bank. I do not know how many of you know and remember, but the World Bank would offer loans to India to build a dam, saying but the cement has to be bought from an American company, right? So those kind of conditions, those kind of selling conditions, which none of the companies today have. But anyway, most of us are led by what Buffett says, and words like reversion to mean. Don't be very sure that all those things will happen. Similarly, for me, I like Samir Arora's approach, I like Vallabh Bansali's approach, I like Rakesh's approach, Naren's approach, Prashant Jain's approach, Chirag's approach, Tahir Badshah's approach. Look, so there is a long range of people whose activities you could see and see what they are doing to build their portfolio, and each person is doing a completely different thing. Buffett, for example, thought he need not invest outside of US, and Templeton thought he should invest all his money in Japan, right? So that's how they both made money. But however, when Buffett invested only in American companies, he invested in companies like Coke, which went abroad. So you were getting the advantage of investing abroad, but you yourself had a feeling that you were not investing abroad. That is not true. Now let us come to typically what the new person wants. He wants new shares, he wants new strategies, he wants scaling up, and to me all that is difficult to fathom. If a guy has 5 lakhs of rupees, he still expects 5 shares of 1 lakh each, and I know people who would put 2 crores into one company just because I said it's a good company, right? So things have changed over the years for sure, but it's very difficult today even to talk to people. In fact, trying a new path just because some old path is not working. For example, one big CIO said, Subra, but what to do, the SIP is not working in equity. See, 4 or 5 year SIPs are not making money. I said, but 19-20 year SIPs are making money. He said, but people don't stay along. But that's people's problem. It's not equity market has not told you that they will give you a return within 3 years or within 5 years. From where you get some mythical feeling, I have no clue, but there is no guarantee that you will make money in 3 years, nor is there money that you will make money in the 30th year. You may make money, you may make fabulous money in the 27th year, decent money in the 28th year, and lose everything in the 29th year. So don't get into some fixed ideas that in the 7th year I should make money, or in the 29th year I should make money. There are no such guarantees, right? Not very long ago, could you buy a EID Parry at 110? Today it is at 310. Why does this happen? Because in March all shares crash. You could have bought it, you could have held on, you could have sold, but to say that, oh, now it has come down from 310 to 280, well, If you bought it at 110, you would have made fantastic money. If you bought it at 310, you're losing money, right? So suddenly commodity could be up, fertilizer could be down, or fertilizer, if you see last few months, fertilizer is up, you have Coromandel, Chambal, all of them doing very well, but sugar is not so up. But recently you've seen even sugar moving up, right? So as far as gold is concerned, I'm normally in the Buffett camp, and I don't really like too much of gold. However, gold is a good asset class to buy if you are reducing the concentration in your portfolio. So I know I have advised people to sell, say, 500 shares of their company every month and put it into multi-asset, because that is the only way to reduce the concentration on a portfolio which has got 2 lakh shares of his company. If you've got 2 lakh shares of your company, you have to sell off at least 6,000-7,000 shares every year, because you're also going to get some shares in ESOP. So assuming you get 6,000 shares in ESOP, at least 6,000 shares have to be sold off, right? So those kind of things, therefore gold rather than gold as a strategic asset. To me it was never a strategic asset, but people who bought gold because I had to reduce the concentration on their portfolio, or I've got lucky. It's not my luck or my skill or anything, just that they spoke to me and they bought this multi-asset instead of keeping their own money in their own equity shares, right? So again, not a part of my holy grail, but you stick to the menu which suits you. Yes, if you're a South Indian, dal chawal suits you, or dahi baat suits you, have dahi baat, have idli, that's perfectly all right. Once in a while having a bel puri is okay, but doesn't mean you can fill your stomach with bel puri every day and upset your stomach, right? So be careful. Be careful also about companies which diversify into too many things, because then they do not know how to allocate their money. Look at the Tata Group. They are into so many things that I do not know how asset allocation is going to happen going forward, right? So without Ratan Tata, it will be a professionally run group. So it's going to be a very difficult thing to run that group. How long will you remove money from TCS and pump into Tata Motors? Suppose Tata Motors turns around now, will you take money from Tata Motors and put into Tata Steel? Those are all questions to answer. If you don't have answers to those questions, you're better off getting out of that group, because that group does not have any great answer as to how to invest in. As a group, they do not know how to allocate funds very sensibly. Now same thing happens to companies like, say, Larsen and Toubro or ITC, and so therefore if you want a tobacco company, you're better off with Godfrey Phillips, and if you want a FMCG company, you're definitely better off with many other profitable companies rather than with ITC, right? So understand what you want and keep investing. Don't get stuck into one label. Don't think you're a value investor or a growth investor or a momentum investor or a trader. You can be everything. You can be a deep value investor, you can be a private investor in an unlisted company, you can be a day trader, you can be a momentum, you can be everything. Decide to wear a particular hat for a particular asset, have money allocated to that asset class, and on that day just do that. Don't try to do too many things. Just like how a company cannot diversify into too many things, you also cannot, but at least have clear drawn rules saying not more than 20 lakhs in speculation, not more than 25 lakhs in trading, not more than 5 crores in A group stocks. Put your own rules, whatever it is, 50 lakhs, 5 crores, 50,000, doesn't really matter. Make your rules, make sure that you have enough money to do all this. Also allocate something to international markets. International does not mean only US. International could mean Japan, Hong Kong, China, Korea, Taiwan. All this is available through Asia funds. Then there is of course US, then there is Europe, and there are global asset allocation funds which will decide how much where to put. Choose whatever you want, but don't get stuck by saying I have this holy grail and I will stick to this. Then make your rules, write your investment diary, write your investment philosophy statement, and see what you want to achieve. And at some stage, if you think that you have enough and you don't need any of this stuff, shift to a less volatile asset class and relax. That is something which people are unable to do. So check what suits you at what stage. At some stage when you're 22, 23, you want growth. At 50, you want stability. At 80, you want complete simplicity. So maybe it will be an annuity and bank deposits, and the only two things as an asset class for an 85-year-old. But that may not be the best asset for a 25-year-old. So age-wise, asset allocation, sensibly understanding what you're doing, and then making sure that you create your own holy grail, but don't stick to it too tight. Have a variation also. Thank you.